Let's get to the surah, the final surah of the series, Surah Nass. And the first thing we'll talk about is its fundamental relationship between the surah itself and the surah that came before it. The previous surah ends, وَمِن شَرِّ حَاسِدٍ إِذَا حَسَدٍ. Last thing Allah says in Surah Al-Falaq, from the evil, from the harm of the one who is jealous, who has hasad, when he acts out in accordance with his hasad. Now you tell me, of all the creations of Allah, which creation is the most jealous? Which creation is the most jealous? The one who intends you the most harm? إِنَّهُ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌّ مُبِينٌ. Iblis, Shaitaan. The next surah is dedicated to protect you from the one who is the most jealous, مِن شَرِّ الْوَسْوَاسِ الْخَنَّاسِ. Iblis himself, Shaitaan himself. So there's a logical progression. We asked in the end, from the protection from the harm of the one who has jealousy, and we get to the one who is the source of all of that jealousy. Even between human beings, when someone has jealousy, who inspires that jealousy in them? Who comes and puts waswasa in them to have that jealousy to begin with? So we identified the outwardly of the problem in Surah Al-Falaq, but the inwardly source, the ultimate source of that jealousy, Iblis himself, who comes and puts waswasa and says, why is that guy coming up? You need to do something about it. You need to say something. You need to plot something. That's been identified in Surah An-Nas. That's the first thing that connects these two surahs. Then of course we talked about how the Surah Al-Falaq is Allah Azza wa Jal giving us protection from evils and harms that exist outside of ourselves. But Surah An-Nas, evils that make their way inside of ourselves, our own nafs, nas themselves, the whispers of people that enter into our hearts, Shaitaan, who is revolving in the chests of the people, inside of the people, fi sudurin nas. So evils on the outside are guarded against in Surah Al-Falaq, and evils on the inside in Surah An-Nas. Another way of looking at it also is, the evils mentioned in Surah Al-Falaq are out of your control. Somebody blowing over knots, casting spells over you, trying to harm you because of jealousy. These are things outside of your control. So you're asking Allah's protection from them. But if you look at Surah An-Nas, the things that Allah is talking about, people whispering and giving you suggestions and, putting waswasa in you, whether or not you act on that waswasa, you will not be able to blame the one who whispered it to you. In other words, the liability in the previous surah is on the criminals who are engaged in the act of jealousy, engaged in the act of sorcery, engaged in the harm that they're trying to afflict on you in the darkness of the night. But in this surah, the responsibility will fall on who? Yourself. If you fall trapped to this waswasa, you will not be able to go to Shaitaan and say, it was your fault. You got me into this. It was your waswasa that made me go to this thing and do that thing or do the other thing, because on the day of judgment he's going to say, La talumuni. Don't you blame me. No, blame yourself. I just sent the email. You're the one who clicked it. I just made the call. You're the one who picked it up. I just sent you the address. You're the one who drove there. I just gave you the invitation. That's all. The one acting on it was you, and in the end, you are the one that is responsible. So in this surah, the greater danger is mentioned, and one of the ways to look at it, once again, the evils mentioned in the previous surah are out of your control. And the evil mentioned in this surah, you are liable for yourself. You will have to answer for them yourself. And yet another way that it's been described by ulama, the relationship between these two, the previous harms what is outwardly, meaning harms your dunya. The hasad can harm someone can harm you with their hasad in your dunya. Magic can harm someone psychologically and things like that. These are things that affect your dunya. But the waswasa of shaitan harms what? Your deen, your akhirah, your iman. So now we have to compare dunya and deen, which is more precious, which has to be guarded more. You see? It's a very clear thing that our deen has to be guarded far more than our dunya. So we asked Allah's protection a lot more in Surah An-Nas. We only called on Allah once in Surah Al-Falaq. What did we say? قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ. Rabb came up once. Look at Surah An-Nas. We're asking Allah to protect our deen. How many times we call on Allah? قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ مَلِكِ النَّاسِ إِلَهِ النَّاسِ. 3 times as much. We emphasized the protection of our deen, our iman, because when shaitan makes waswasa in your iman, putting doubts in it, putting jealousy in it, putting evil in it, putting greed in it, what is it attacking? It's attacking the faith, the taqwa. The ihsan that one may possess. It can corrupt all of those things. So we ask Allah a lot more protection in this surah.